I mean, it's hard to find a more philosophically rich book than Being in Time. It's one of those few books that I can say truly changed my life. Um, there's certain books that I can say it's like in my life, I can go, oh, that's the period before I read Marxist Capital. That's the period after I read it. Same goes with Being in Time. There's me before I read Being in Time, and then me afterwards. And it's a book like I wouldn't call myself a Heideggerian anymore, even though I was like a card carrying Heideggerian for many years. Um, but a book like Being in Time, no matter where your thought goes or what you end up doing, you will be made better as a thinker from engaging with Being in Time. Again, it's so original. Um, he's so focused as a philosopher. And look, the hurdle is the terminology. It's very bizarre and foreign when you start reading it, but that's the whole point of taking it with somebody like Dave, who has spent years working at this and is very much at home in the terminology, right? And it really helps to have somebody who can unpack that stuff. But once you have somebody who can really explain the main technical terms and start to kind of unpack a sentence, whenever a sentence needs to be unpacked, you really do start to get familiarized with his style. And it isn't even that difficult after a while. I know that's a bold claim, but I really think that once you get tapped into him, he's actually pretty fucking clear and precise in how he articulates himself. Totally different than Lacan, totally different than Baudrillard. He's very straightforward. It's just that he's using a lot of colloquial German terms that in translation are hyphenated and very cumbersome to us and our ears. But once you get through that, it is just a true, like, again, like I will always, what I think about death will always be shaped in part from what he does in Division 2, what he thinks about temporality, what he thinks about what it means to be in a world, his thoughts on moods or attunement. I mean, all of this, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, all of it is incredibly original. And I just can't, like, you don't have to be a Heideggerian, you don't have to become one, but you will be made a better thinker by engaging in this book and understanding what his project is. And so, I mean, when it comes to philosophical text, there's no text I can give a bigger recommendation to than Being in Time. And again, Dave is going to undersell. Dave has spent basically a decade of his life. And I mean, he'll probably won't go into it yet, but he has a very, very original interpretation of the book. I think when his interpretation of it does get published and gets released, a lot of Heidegger scholars are going to have to go to work, either combating it or learning to accept the fact that it's a really solid interpretation. But Dave doesn't have the reputation he deserves yet as a Heidegger scholar, but he will in the future. So be there at the ground floor for it.
Oh, shucks. And Nance, anything you'd want to say as the only representative participant in the course that is currently here, I think?
Yeah, going into it, all the advertisement is don't do it. It's hard. Don't do it. This book is going to make you want to give up. It's going to make you want to quit. And I agree with that assessment. It's a hard text to get into, but having gone through it, I can see, like Mikey said, like my thinking has improved. My critical thinking has improved. My desire to understand has been broadened. The very understanding of understanding itself has been broadened by really engaging with it. And it does click into place eventually. And I'm, like having gone through it with Dave, who in a sense knows it like the back of his hand. Like I kind of agree. Like it's something to get it while the getting's good. Like I do believe that eventually people will realize how rigorous an understanding Dave has, and he will be spoken of along with Dreyfus and shit. Like I do believe that. So
shit.
Get in while the getting's good.
That's way too much pressure. Way fucking too much pressure. I'm reading it for the first time in a sort of sense, like I think you have to read a book 3 times to really read it. And I am on my 3rd reading, except I'd say this is like my 2nd reading of Division 2. So, but I am developing a whole thing here. So there's that. January 6th. Think about it. Anyway, that aside, Mikey shouldn't have